Welcome back to the channel, people. It's DubzAffectMyStory, and I'm back again, for another vid. Let me just sort this out because I know I didn't sort it out, and now I'm kind of regretting it straight away. Anyway, what I wanted to get into today, I was going to do something a bit different, slightly different. You can tell by the headline, obviously. I want to talk about ChatGPT. ChatGPT and the future of artificial intelligence. Now, first and foremost, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, machine learning, all of the above, I will honestly say, in large, most of it goes way over my head. Let's put that out there straight away, way over my head. And it's an interesting thing what's been building up for a long time now, since the World Wide Web. These things have been kicking in. But what is quite interesting and what I've noticed is in recent years and months that people are starting to get scared. People are starting to say, oh, I don't know. Not like Facebook scared you anyway, or various other platforms, MySpace and stuff. But people are actually genuinely starting to be scared of, the AI takeover, artificial intelligence, machine learning. People are starting to now think, actually, is this correct? Is it not correct? I was listening to a podcast by this young man here. I'm sure most of you have heard of him, JoRogan, as it says. And I think the other guy is Bret Weinstein. Bret Weinstein. Sounds like he could be German. That's another story. Weinstain. So yeah, I heard this little conversation and I thought I wanted to do a little watch along, a little watch over while they're talking about ChatGPT. I want to get your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think. But again, most of the AI, and I am talking about in the back, the coding, the Pythons, the Javas, the actual how it's put together. A lot of it does go over my head. I understand what the processes are to a point of I can see it and think, okay, when you put it down and you write it and you tell me what it does, and when it's on the front end, I can understand that. But if I have to do it, and if someone says, how do you explain that? I'm still not there or not there enough. So that's another story for another video. But I'm going to play this video by Joe, and I'm going to pause it and come in when I feel it's needed to. All right, but let me know what you guys think.
Hello, Dubz. But I want to talk about ChatGPT.
Fascinating question.
Yeah.
Have you experimented with it?
I have not, but someone, the gentleman who runs the JRE companion page, made a rap with ChatGPT. Like, was it if Kanye West wrote a rap for ChatGPT? They put it on Instagram, but it's like, it seems like a person saying it. Like, no. I mean, it takes a long time. His thing took like 48 minutes to do it.
Well, whatever you want to look up right now, we can do it. But the problem is you have to cajole it. You get something wrong and you have to say,
but let's just explain what it is.
So ChatGPT is a large language model trained artificial intelligence.
Right, there you go. Straight away. That's what it is. A trained language model of artificial intelligence. So I've always, straight away when I found out what it was a few weeks back, straight away for me it was like, okay, so it's Alexa on LSD. It's Alexa on LSD. Straight away I'm like, all right. So, because you can ask Alexa stuff or Google and she pings it back to you. So it's Alexa on LSD. That was my thinking straight away to what ChatGPT is. But let's hear what they say is, and the conclusions.
Which is, let's just say, it can be awful, but it is often surprisingly good at answering questions you might have about how to do things. One of the great triumphs of it is that coders are now asking it to solve coding problems, and it will actually write code that is functional. It's pretty amazing. And it also, there's an implementation of it that if you feed it up to 3 tweets, it will write a New York Times story in one of 5 genres, optimistic, pessimistic, neutral. And, you know, it's, you don't really need the New York Times anymore because it's pretty good at this job, right? So, on the one hand, it's all very interesting that we're living in an era in which there is at least, and this is a prototype, right? This is a prototype that was specifically trained.
So it's not ready yet. It's a prototype. I think it's number 3.
It's been placed on the internet so people could play with it, and I've seen lots of interesting uses. It's going to get better, right? We're dealing with ChatGPT 3. There's going to be a ChatGPT 4, which is going to be that much better because it will be built with the improvements that have been gained through turning this one loose on the world. But I have to say, I am quite alarmed, not only that this thing exists, but I don't think we're ready for it.
All right, so I'm going to stop there. So this Bret Weinstain says he's quite alarmed. He doesn't think the world is ready for it. So now, what I'm trying not to do today is to go into the race thing. I'm going to try not to. But ultimately, I'm British of Caribbean descent. I'm not American. I'm not African American and all them words there. But I get it. I get why they're called African American, even though that's absolute nonsense. But that's another story for another day. But I'm going to try not to, but I'm going to have to by default. You've got no choice. Especially when he says he doesn't feel the world is ready for it. So who is he talking about when he says the world? Is he now suggesting everybody in the world, in this lovely world that we live in all the continents that we have and everything, is he suggesting everyone's on a level playing field, so everyone's not ready for this? Is that what he's suggesting? Or is he saying no matter what you're doing, no matter where you are in your life, it doesn't matter what your country's up to, what they're good at, what they're not good at, vice versa, you're just not ready for it? Even if you're broke to the hills, it's not for you. Is that what he's saying? Or is he suggesting, let me hear him finish, and then I'll come back to that point?
Now, I don't think we're ready for it in a couple different ways. If you want to comfort yourself and say, well, this isn't that serious that we have this AI that can do these really shocking things.
There you go.
The comforting thing is that the way it's programmed, it doesn't know what it's saying. It doesn't matter that it convinces you that it's saying something that means it, and that it seems like a creative entity. What it's doing is it is basically using a predictive model that has been trained on a huge data set of written language, right? So the answer is, if you take 3 words in a row, can you predict what the next word is going to do? And they allowed it to expose it to a large data set. It's gotten really good at predicting basically these sequences to the point that it can now, if you prompt it correctly, it can spit out these very long explanations. Some of them are dead wrong. Sometimes they're right on target. But I have 2 concerns about it. One, if you imagine that this thing just gets a little better than it is, which is inevitable.
Well, it will. Of course it will.
It's going to make actual insight that much harder to spot. Right? In other words, if you become expert at operating this, at querying, and it becomes better at understanding a wider range of topics.
Some may say that's culture. That's what happens.
Right. Then the point is the ability to fake expertise is going to go through the roof. I don't think
So he's got a point. He has got a point. Now, some of you may be thinking, am I for ChatGPT or am I against it? I'm just stating some facts that I feel when he speaks. Bret, Weinstain and Joe, and he's got his shows. He's got a platform for 15 million people, and that's just on YouTube. So I'm thinking to myself, when was it fair? When was it allowed to have this disconnect? When did the disconnect start? And when was it put together for this to now have a disconnect? Because I don't know, and I'm only young in this world, and we got all the ancestries and stuff like that. But I'm trying to work it out when it was fair from a culture perspective, from my place of birth, my local community, and the wider community. When I heard the interview, I'm still trying to work out what he's actually trying to say. So I'm going to let him play again, but that's where I am with ChatGPT.
That we know how we're going to police a world in which, this problem is already bad enough.
Okay.
Most academics,
it's getting bad. It's getting worse.
Fakers. They don't know that, right? They trained in something. They wrote a dissertation. They think they're experts.
Yeah, but again, when was that? When has that been different? If you can help your friend get in behind you, you already got the zeros, and he's coming behind. Whether he's with you, knowledgeable with you or not, you're probably going to let him in. This has been happening since we were carrying boulders and all types of jungle activities from all cultures. So I don't understand what he's trying to say, because this thing it's only a print of what we've given it, and then it has the ability to grow.
But you can see when something unexpected happens, like the pandemic, you get just broad scale failure across entire disciplines.
There's a reason. There's reasons.
Right? So in that world, this is going to be even worse, because now you have some artificial intelligence able to generate things in plain English that are often full of true information, but you don't know whether what generated it is some brain dead model or something else. That's one concern. And then the other concern is when we say, well, ChatGPT doesn't know what it's saying. It's not conscious. We know it's not conscious because it's not programmed to have a consciousness. We are actually ignoring the other half of the story, which is that we don't know how human consciousness works, and we don't know how it develops in a child.
And I guess I wouldn't say that hits the nail on the head, but again, that says straight away we don't know exactly. And have we actually tried to find out? Or because gain is gain, and that's another story, and I guess that will take its momentum when I decide to start. But gain is gain within the human society. We all know how to gain off each other, but have we actually ever really tried to understand, or have we understood enough and the gain just took over? Whatever you felt was worth taking, you took and ran with it, and you couldn't turn back. So, you know what? Let me play him. But I think you know where I'm going with this.
Right? A child is exposed to a world of adults talking around him, and the child experiments first with phonemes and then words and then clusters of words and then sentences. And by doing something that isn't all that far from what ChatGPT is doing, it ends up becoming a conscious individual. And so I think it's clear that ChatGPT isn't conscious. It couldn't be. But it isn't clear, to me at least, that we are not suddenly stepping onto a process that produces that very quickly without us even necessarily knowing.
And what steps, if any, can be done to mitigate that at this point?
Well,
So that's a good question by Joe. So in terms of the distraction, I'm just going to take kids, human beings, and what something, because now we're talking about something other than something else. Now we're talking about things that no one's in control of. No race, no culture, or are they? That's another story. Now we're saying, well, what can we do to stop it happening? Nip it in the bud, because this is things only 3 years old or 3 versions old. So it's early doors for ChatGPT and many other platforms, but we're just going to go into ChatGPT because it's kind of picked up some momentum on the internet. I think it got its first million downloads in one day, in a number of hours, where Facebook and all the others took a period of time, up to 2 years, some of them. So that in itself, everyone's jumped on it, which is fine. But then you've got the flip side, which is why I'm doing this video.
it's interesting. I wrote a paper which I never published anywhere in 2016 about this very issue. In fact, I used basically the argument that you could attain artificial general intelligence by imbuing computers with a childlike play environment for language and then exposing them to a huge data set, which is not exactly what's happened here, but in the ballpark. And I would argue, and I did argue, that one needs to build an architecture in which this can't get away from you. Right? And so the architecture that I advocate for is actually a metamorphosis architecture, where metamorphosis is not allowed. It is an affirmative choice of humans.
So now, what that sounds like to me, that don't sound like a democracy to me. That sounds like, what's the North Korean guy, dictatorship. That's what it sounds like. So if you know about ring fencing, and you know about the GPS and stuff like that, the internet, ring fencing the internet, and being in an area, you could ring fence certain areas to have defenders, so no information of any unauthorized stature can get in there and infiltrate anything in there. We live in a bubble. Would it? Because it's not going to what we've experienced in the world already, which is why I said I don't want to talk about it, but what we have experienced as humans is we've experienced that not everyone's the same. You got this. Some people are living up here. Some people are definitely living at the bottom of the bottom. And some people are like, doing whatever, having a great time. And then there's some people who are not having a great time. So with that model, I think we can agree from the off, it's not going to be a global deployment. It's not going to happen. It's going to be for the lucrative or the few and dozen, the dozen and few. And that's where the problem lies straight away. Let's hear Bret Weinstain a bit more.
So in other words, if you think about, let's say that we developed some artificial frogs to do some job, to clear some waterway or something, and we imbued them with an intelligence so that they could learn to clear the waterway better. We're worried that they might learn to do something that we don't want them to do, that we would have no way of arresting once these frogs were released in the wild and capable of producing more of themselves. But if what you say is, well, at the point at which you go from a tadpole to a frog, you have to ask us if you can go, right? There's no automatic transition from tadpole to a frog. There are still dangers, right? In the case of GPT chat, I think some of the artificial intelligence existential risk folks would tell you that one of the dangers is that the chat AI could convince you to do its bidding, right? As you said, when you were looking at this, it felt like a person, right? And the point is, something that feels like a person can play on your emotions, right? Can that be used to cause a failsafe to be removed? Maybe. But in any case, this only deals with one.
So, hold on. Sorry, let me hear him finish.
One of the two issues I'm raising, the question of actual artificial general intelligence arriving, us not knowing necessarily that it has, right? That's a frightening prospect. And in fact, I have a little thought experiment that might reveal why. But the other issue is the issue of competence. In a world where you basically have you have a Cyrano de Bergerac dystopia where everybody is using this thing behind the scenes in order to say things that are beyond their own capacity to articulate, right? Then the world becomes some new kind of hall of mirrors.
Yeah, but why I'm confused, isn't that what we're doing anyway? Ain't that what happens anyway? Favor for you, scratch mine, I scratch your own. Favor for a favor. Let me help me to help you. I'm sure we do that anyway. Qualification goes out the window when I can help you. So I don't really know what he's saying about ChatGPT. Now again, it's not for me to say whether this is the holy grail of this is the savior, because like I said, this stuff and the real writing and coding in the background is beyond me. But ain't that what we're doing anyway? Just forget the internet. Ain't that what we did? We basically dog eat dog, help me to help you. We did that stuff. So if this is going to do the same, if you know, you know, and if you don't, it's business as usual. No?
We've had a hard enough time dealing with algorithms on search and feed. This is a whole next level.
Yeah, of course it is. Like anything.
And who you're talking to and what it means and what their motives are. And I think we ought to be on high alert.
High alert. We ought to be on high alert. Does he not realise there's people living here and there's people living here already? When did high alert start? When was it meant to start, mate? Or is he, because he hasn't said what country he's specifically talking about, but he's talking in general. So I can assume he's talking about me. He's talking about the guys in Jerusalem. He's speaking about the guys in Germany, Hungary, Bulgaria, Russia to some extent. Well, I say some extent. He's talking about everybody. He's just talking about the race as a whole. That's what I understand. He hasn't necessarily said it's America. But then for me, I'm like, well, when we've already done all this stuff. We've been here, physically, mentally. We've done all this stuff. So I don't understand why now something else that we create, by the way, we actually write this stuff. It hasn't come out of thin air. Is able to conduct itself the way we told it to. Just like, as you mentioned earlier, your children, because you bring up your children, everybody knows, understanding various cultures from the beginning, from birth, you don't have any crude or any line. You only follow one line when you're born. You're just born, that's my toy, can I have it back? And you go through that motion. As you grow up, you are infiltrated with X, Y, and Z to what makes you become what you become. Now, some people become very nice and honourable and can respect 100% or 90% of the world. Some people come, well, I'm only going to respect the 10%. That's what I've been told, or the 8, whatever, 24% of the world, and vice versa. That's what we already do. We already do that with that conditioning, with that brain stuff. So if this is going to give you a false pretense that someone can be someone they're not, you can get information when you ain't actually ready. We're already doing that. That's, for me, that's already happening. People are already in places of power right now who probably shouldn't be. And that was long before this.
When you extrapolate, when you look at what this does and what it's capable of, and what I think what scares people is something that seems to be a person, but doesn't have any emotion, doesn't have any soul. It's not us, but it behaves exactly.
Had no soul. People have had no soul forever. That's what I'm saying, bro. You're gonna like, there's all love everywhere. No, bruv. People have had no soul for a long time, bro. Like, genuinely people have not give two hoots long before the internet. So I don't understand where this conversation is trying to go. It's better they just say, I don't understand it. Like I'm saying, I don't understand how you write it. I don't understand it. I understand how to use it a little bit. You know, I've already sent some emails off with the text. Makes sense to me. I was like, cool, was that? I just got, okay. What? I just got to write that and it can give me, oh, listen, send that off. Send. Obviously edit it, make it sound like it's, me, and then send. So you just, what you're saying is because you don't know, all of a sudden, handbags. When actually this stuff's been going on for forever. Let me just play the video, man.
Exactly as us. And then you can put it in a physical entity. So if you have this chat GPT and then you extrapolate to version 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
which they will
there's
do.
A physical thing that has this ability inside of it to communicate with you, like Ex Machina, where it's exhibiting all
I don't want to be a dumbass. I feel like I should know what Ex Machina is. I don't know.
of the behavior characteristics of a person. Like one of the most terrifying. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love that movie. One of my favorite movies of all time was when that guy who was brought in to sort of run some tests on these artificial intelligence creations and determine whether or not they pass as human. What is that test called again? The
Turing test.
Turing test.
Yeah.
And he is in love with this woman. She's manipulated him to the point where he's aided her in her escape. And then she leaves him in that room with the bulletproof glass, and he's pounding on glass, and she walks away with not a thought at all about him. It is the ultimate example of the worst case scenario of where this can go, where you have something that behaves exactly like a human being and knows how to play upon your sexual urges, your emotional desires, all of those different things that she.
My friend, I said it before and I say it again. This has been happening for way back, bro. Let's not call a spade, bro. Like the way you're talking, Joe and Bret. Is it Bret? Yeah, Bret. Vine. Like we've all lived this incredible, fantastic life, and now this internet bundle of confusion has come along and kind of, all right, you don't want to put the two together. I get it. You don't want to put the two together. You don't want to say, you don't want to, it's too much conversations in one. I get it. But you can't bring up the points that bring the other conversation in. You can't. It's best you just say, as I said, I don't understand it. It's exciting. But this is where my bad points are. But some of the topic and some of the words being used would suggest it's the heat's on. And if the heat's on, it only brings up the past, and it kind of, obviously we're trying to talk about the future, because once the heat's on, everything comes into play. Because chat GPT sounds like it's turned up a notch on artificial intelligence and the future of. Anyway, this video goes on for another 3 minutes, so we're gonna finish up, and then I'm gonna listen. Let me know what you guys think, but let's hear what Joe continues with.
Plays upon, and then she just walks away from him and leaves him to starve to death in this fucking boat.
Yeah, like no one's ever left anyone to starve to death. But anyway, good thing it was a film.
Yeah, and I'm now recalling the film, and it's done very well because it manipulates you passively in your seat.
Yes.
Right, as it manipulates this character on the screen. And so you are betrayed too.
Yes.
In this. You want to believe that it's emotional, and it has none of that.
You feel bad for this woman, who you think is a woman, who is contained. And, when she sang to him when the power goes out, don't trust him. And then, the power comes back on, she behaves normally again. You're like, oh my God. Like, she's trapped.
Right.
Like this poor creature they've made a person essentially, and she has these thoughts and hopes and dreams just like a regular person, but now she's trapped, and he falls in love with her. And even though he's seen her in her robot form, when she puts skin on and when she puts clothes on and she's in front of him, he's in love with her.
Right.
Sounds like evolution to me.
And it, again, it plays very well because there's a manipulable circuit in straight men.
Yeah.
Right. That's going to react to this.
I'm sure straight women as well. I'm sure gay women,
gay
men,
women, no doubt.
everybody.
Well, yes, but in this particular narrative,
right.
you have to be a gay woman or a straight man
right.
for it to trigger you. But part of this is actually inevitable in the ChatGPT story, because especially to the extent that this is a mindless entity that doesn't know what it's doing, it's just striving to do it better.
Yes.
The tactics that work will register as, oh, you did it right. So to the extent that you have those vulnerabilities in you, and it finds them, and that works, then the point is reinforcement.
Right? It scares us because it's not us, but it is.
Reinforcement.
Right? It scares us because it's not us, but it is us.
Well,
because it's behaving exactly like us, but it doesn't have all the things that make a person a person. It doesn't have the biological vulnerabilities. It doesn't have.
And again, I didn't want to keep going back to the obvious because it's not about that. But I try to not think about it, but I'm new in this whole planet. I'm new. And when I come and go, I'm new. Listen to what he says. Listen to what Joe just said. Listen to what he says.
The point is reinforcement.
Right? It scares us because it's not us, but it is us.
Well, it's not us, but it is us. You could have said that 1,000 years ago, bro. You could say that 600 years ago. It scares us because it's not us, but it is us. What is it you're actually trying to say? And do you know what you're saying? Because I can say what I'm saying, not because I see myself on your level or whatever. I'm just saying it because it makes me want to say it. Because I'm like, hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. What you're saying, you're acting like this thing doesn't exist. It already exists in my eyes. It already exists. So this is just another form of that existence. And then now you're complaining. So it's like, oh, hold on a minute. Oh, whoa. Now you're complaining. Get in the queue, bruv. We're all complaining. There's a list. There's a list of complaints. There's a list, bruv. And you're going to have to get in the queue now because I've been in the queue. Now you're in the queue. So that's what this is telling me. Let me just finish up quickly.
It's behaving exactly like us,
yeah,
but it doesn't have all the things that make a person a person. It doesn't have the biological vulnerability.
Well, yeah, like, self-consciousness, obviously, look, the world as we know it and being one of a kind and all the rest of that evolutional stuff and all that bits and bobs.
It doesn't have the ability to actually sexually reproduce. It doesn't have emotions. It doesn't have all these different things that we like to think of.
Yeah, but some people did have all of that. And it still went pear-shaped.
Soul, whatever that means, whatever that term actually means.
Yeah, but I'm worried about what could be generated. And I know it will sound to a lot of people, especially technological people, like a biologist out of his depth. Mm-hmm. But I don't think so. This is a biologist trying to say something about the biology and what it applies about this analogous system.
There you have it, peeps. There you have it. JoRogan, Bret Weinstain, speaking about the future of artificial intelligence, ChatGPT. And you've heard what I had to say. I think I had to just say what I'm saying because, boy, I see very close sort of conversations and sort of, there's a word, sort of things that we're looking for to make it make sense. That's kind of how close it went for me. I don't know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments below. DubzAffectMyStory. And I'm going to go. I'm gonna go, man. And I'll see you guys on the other side. But yeah, if you're gonna use it, use it. If you're not, no worries. All right, take it easy. Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and share. See you later. Peace.